So yesterday, the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were speaking before Congress or outside the halls of Congress. It's important to know that many of these victims are wanting to have their stories heard. Now, again, there's been a lot of very questionable actions by our politicians and people trying to cover it up. Now, Donald Trump did have the audacity to say that this is a hoax. So, first, before we get to the victims speaking out, here was a response from the president of these United States about the Jeffrey Epstein case.
Mr. President,
right now, there have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massey, who was sponsoring a discharge position to get the House to vote on releasing those documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be. And he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir? So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now, D.C., it's a totally safe zone. It's called a safe zone. That's a term. It's a term of art. It's a safe zone because it's very safe. You can walk down the street now and nothing's going to happen. No crime, no murders, no nothing. Because we had a lot of problems with certain places, and we still do, all run by Democrats, or for the most part run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success, like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about, because they're going to talk about the Epstein, whatever.
Now, remember, Trump did talk about the Epstein files, as did a lot of other people, right-wing influencers, who got all the figgy pudding and the algorithm and rhyme and a lot of that good boost talking about it for the last 5 years, and now automatically it's a hoax. Again, there's so many questions about Epstein, who he knew, the culture, the politicians, the rich people. You know, I mean, again, Epstein knew a lot of people. It's easy to say that it's a hoax, but things don't add up. It don't add up well. Everybody's saying the same thing. Now, are there going to be some bad face actors out there? Of course. But everything around his demise, to everything that we see on social media, is and should be questioned. A raised eyebrow.
I understand that we were subpoenaed to give files, and I understand we've given thousands of pages of files. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough, because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having. I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from 2 people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever.
Alligator Alcatraz is being emptied. The war in Ukraine is still going on. War in the Middle East. Oh my God, let's not talk about that blazing hellstorm. And of course, there's an economic crisis. And of course, Trump wants to send National Guard and federal agents to major metropolitan cities. So and again, you could say you're doing good, but there's also some other problems here too. Okay. But the Epstein files, I mean, release the files. You're calling it a hoax, you know, and many of those JFK, MLK, RFK senior files left much to be desired for.
And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
when you make a decision on Ukraine, Mr. President?
Now, I do want to pull up this video here because this is one of the Epstein victims that did speak out, who's a registered Republican, and said it, no, this is not a hoax. Now, the audio is low on this, so I'll be raising up the volume. But everybody, open your ears and listen.
Has said that this Epstein issue is a hoax, is the words that he used. Can we get your reactions to what you think when you hear him say that?
Oh, I'll answer that. Mr. President Donald J. Trump, I am a registered Republican, not that that matters because this is not political. However, I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax. We are real human beings. This is real trauma.
What does it feel like emotionally to hear that?
Devastating.
It's being gutted from the inside out. Not that I would know what that feels like, but I imagine it's the anxiety buildup with the depression and the survival mode, and then your nervous system goes limp and ironically is shot. And it feels like you just want to explode inside because nobody, again, is understanding that this is a real situation. These women are real. We're here in person. To say that it's a hoax is just not. Please humanize us. I would like Donald J. Trump and every person in America and around the world to humanize us, to see us for who we are and to hear us for what we have to say. There is no hoax. The abuse was real. Now, what goes on behind closed doors, I can't speak for that. What happens around the world politically, I cannot speak for that. But I am here with all of these women, including our attorneys, and I would be more than happy to meet with him, and I will meet him halfway.
So the day before, Congress, many members of Congress, released the 33,000 pages of the Epstein files. Again, I wonder how much of that has been redacted or how much of that is already available to the public that we already know about. But Epstein knew these people. He rubbed shoulders with them. You know, when it comes down to the subpoenas too, even Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton were subpoenaed. This is getting serious, and calling it a hoax after 5 years of talking about this, now everyone wants to bury the story. Now, I do want to pull up this super chat here, to be fair here, because I actually have this video available. Barry Stein says, independent journalist Michael Tracy stated that yesterday Epstein press conference was a fraud. I think the Democrats want to use Epstein to get Trump while ignoring Israel. Well, as it's been said before, I mean, look, the Democrats had all the opportunities to really go after this under the 4 years of Biden. It's being politically used. I mean, to say that's not being politically used, I find it to be convenient. Probably the only person that's been consistent about trying to get the Epstein files has been Representative Thomas Massie. But even then, folks, listen, it's bigger than just these senators or House representatives. The bigger issue is, why has there been such a massive cover-up? It's been 5 years since Epstein, well, passed away. The autopsy says that he did not self-delete, that something else happened to him. He knew all the movers and shakers in DC, in Hollywood, in entertainment, in the financial area. I mean, there's a lot of people that want to keep their secrets secrets. So in order to have open transparency, here is Michael Tracy, who did ask this question, but was thrown out of the press conference.
The allegations, there's a simple answer. Release the files. Let the American public decide. Instead of harassing, instead of, I gave you your say. Look,
against a prominent individual among others.
You're hired by Dershowitz.
And then had to admit,
But,
other counsel.
you know, even
He knows what I'm talking about. That contains
you,
hugely salacious allegations against a whole.
you've been heard. You've been heard.
Shouldn't you tell the public about this?
You've been heard. And even Alan Dershowitz says to release the files. Release the files. That is the answer, and that's what we're here for. And that is it.
Can you elaborate on the
Sorry.
you said that
Yeah.
you said that Donald Trump gave you help in 2009. Can you elaborate on your interactions with Donald Trump back in 2009? And for any of the victims,
Now, of course, Michael Tracy was removed from that press conference event. I'm all for questioning. I want to be clear on this. I am all for questioning. However, I want to pull up this message here. All right. I just want to pull up this message here. The word hoax is attempting to do a complete cover-up, but is stretched beyond repair. Look, 5 years of twists and turns, going through the political red tape, a maze of constant dead ends and roadblocks and denials. And finally, the stories come to light. And notice how now everyone, or there's at least a message, an attempt to try and kill this story, bury it with other stories, such as this ridiculous unknown alien object coming to Earth between November and December. Look, if it's aliens, don't worry about paying your taxes, folks. It's over. Or is it distracting us with more wars, or distracting us with other BS, or distracting us with other crises? The Epstein story is a big deal because Epstein knew a lot of people. He knew a lot, and the answer is a lot. He knew a lot of people. And these victims, many of them, were afraid, are afraid. I mean, some of these victims passed away under very suspicious, mysterious circumstances. Everyone needs to remember that. I want to pull up this video here, or one Epstein victim says, yeah, I am afraid.
Come along and speak up so that we can be more of a stronger voice and louder.
And so what is your message to President Trump on this?
Listen, I don't want to send a direct message to him. I'm already scared enough. Yeah, just pass the vote, listen to us. This is not a hoax. Like, it's not going to go away. And like I said on my speech earlier, we're not going to be silenced anymore. We will be speaking moving forward wherever we need to be. We will be, and we need to pass this.
Go ahead.
Come along and speak up so that we can be.
Now, I want to pull up something else here too, because this was also at the press conference. Now, if they are able to do this, first of all, I would not recommend the victims to say the names. I would rather have the government officials, but many of the Epstein victims declare that they will release the names of his clients independently without any government involvement. I also want to acknowledge the super chat here. Files can't be released because they would show Epstein compromised the entire ruling class, Democrats and Republicans, in service of Israel, and ultimately aided in the genocide of the people of Palestine. Folks, look, I want the files to be released. I want to know who's on the list. This isn't just a left or right wing thing. This is a human reaction. I want to know who's on the list. I want to know who partook in some of these nefarious deeds. I want to know who the bad guys are. Now, the thing is, don't be surprised if you see your favorite politician or director or actor or actress, I want to be inclusive here, or maybe a big time CEO, or maybe a popular CEO, or either that, bankers or whoever else. Don't be surprised if you see them on the list. We want to know who's on the list. Hey, whatever happened to the Diddy files, the Diddy tapes? I think we all should know what happened to those, right? Let me pull up this video here.
Know the name. And let me announce now. Several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details on that. Because history is washing, and so are the women who will come after us. Thank you.
Now, I want to pull this up here, too, because this is another response. This is from Representative Thomas Massey as well as Representative Ro Khanna. Oh, what do you know? It's thinking. It's thinking. It's thinking. It's thinking. It's thinking right now. Interesting. Why doesn't it want me to play it? Sometimes there's always videos that want to be played and don't want to be played. Let me go ahead and pull this up here.
Compile their own, basically, list of people around Jeffrey Epstein and release that. You actually said tonight that you have a plan to potentially help them with that.
Yeah. So the survivors said that they had decided to compile their own list. But the reality is, if they try to release that list, they're going to be sued into homelessness. They will be attacked. They will have death threats. And so what my colleague Marjorie Taylor Greene volunteered to do, and I've volunteered to do as well, is to read that list on the floor of the House of Representatives, because our founders put into the Constitution speech or debate immunity, which says that we can't be prosecuted for what we say on the floor of the House. So we're willing to help those survivors get those names out there. And as my colleague Rokana has said, we trust the public to determine who were donors to the Epstein Scholarship Fund and who were users of the women who were exposed to sexual abuse, to differentiate between those two groups of people.
Congressman Khanna, do you support that? Reading the names from these women on the House floor?
I do, but I don't think it needs to come to that. I mean, there.
I actually wrote it needs to come to that. Read the names on the House floor. Read the names. Read the names. R-E-A-D. Read the names right now. All right. I don't want any discussion. No debate. Read the gosh darn names right gosh darn now.
Shouldn't be burdened to have to come up with the list. You know, one of the things that struck me is some of the survivors said that they themselves had not seen the files. One person pleaded with America saying she wants to try to understand her own memories and she wants to see these files to be able to piece that together. Look, this was such an emotional moment that after I spoke, after the survivors, Marjorie Taylor Greene came over and gave me a hug. I mean, people should have seen the humanity there. And I don't know, after hearing those women, why we just don't release the files. I mean, it actually would make the president look good. He could come out and say, no other president has released the files. I'm releasing the files. My focus right now, and I think anyone who was at that press conference, is how do we get justice and closure for those survivors?
Okay. So in other words, folks, we need to have closure. Now, there was something else that took place during that press conference, and something that I find to be rather frightening and concerning. Not frightening and concerning, but rather an interesting coinkydink, because during that entire conference, U.S. jet flyovers disrupted the press conference. This did take place.
I was horrified when I found out not only had Ghislaine Maxwell been transferred to what's called a low security. It's really is like a holiday camp, and then afterwards I got a notification from the Department of Justice telling me that this was going to happen when it had already happened. This woman abused children. I was abused by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for over 10 years. Ghislaine Maxwell was present for some of my abuse at the hand of Jeffrey Epstein. She was present, she was complicit, she was enabling, and it is appalling and disgusting. And it's one of my worst nightmares that she not only be transferred, but at the possibility that's very much going around that she might be pardoned. This is not okay, guys. This is not okay.
And I just want to add that I think it sends a very dangerous message to our country, to the young people in our country, that someone that we all know is aware of these crimes could be given a pass.
And just for the last survivor who just spoke, the last survivor who just spoke, she said that Epstein would brag about her relationship with Donald Trump. Could you please elaborate about that?
Shante.
Yeah,
Another jet flyover.
I did say that. My first trip to the Palm Beach residence, I drove there from the airport with Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends.
It could all be a coincidence. But I want to pull up this other video here too, because one of Epstein's biggest brags was that he was good friends, buddies, pals with none other than our current president.
With Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends, their famous or powerful friends, and his biggest brag forever was that he was very good friends with Donald Trump. He had an 8x10 framed picture of him on his desk with the two of them. Like, they were very close.
Go ahead.
One of his biggest brags. It's an actual thing. And I think everyone that's paying attention to this needs to understand that this is not a hoax. This isn't a joke. I just want to play a little bit more because we got a couple more things to share with all of you. Just one more video here. One victim also goes on to talk about how there were many women who were trapped by Epstein and Miss Maxwell. I know for a lot of this is triggering. For a lot of you, this might be very disturbing to listen to. But this is the truth. And this is the stuff that many of these brave women had to deal with. You know, I understand trying to, try and make heads or tails of this, but this is a story for about 5 years, 6 years now. Constantly twists and turns. Because this is exposing, and as we all know, all lies will be exposed. Even in 2025.
All lies will be exposed.
As they should be. But this is a real nightmare for those in power who are afraid to have their names named.
2002, I was living in California, a young woman with high aspirations of becoming an actress. I was already beginning to make a name for myself in the industry. A person I trusted, someone I thought was a friend, invited me to meet a powerful woman who could help advance my career. That woman happened to be Ghislaine Maxwell. I was asked to give her a massage, though I had almost no experience. And when I did, she praised me and promised introductions to someone enormously powerful, someone who could change the course of my life. And that man was Jeffrey Epstein. At first, I was an excited young woman on top of the world. Epstein flew me to his private island. He listened to my dreams, promised to help, but his promises came with a catch. The abuse began. He told me to keep it secret. He manipulated me with quid pro quo I did not consent to, but I felt I had no one to turn to. He was too powerful. I was just one of the many young women trapped in his orbit. I was even taken on a trip to Africa with former President Bill Clinton and other notable figures. In those moments, I realized how powerless I was. If I spoke out, who would believe me? Who would protect me? Epstein himself was the most powerful leader of our country. Epstein surrounded himself, with the most powerful leaders of our country and the world. He abused not only me, but countless others, and everyone seemed to look away. The truth is, Epstein had a free pass. He bragged about his powerful friends, including our current president, Donald Trump. It was his biggest brag, actually. And what I endured will haunt me forever. I live every day with PTSD. I live as a mother trying to raise my child while distrusting a world that has betrayed me. This kind of trauma never leaves you. It breaks families apart. It shapes the way we see everyone around us.
And you could hear the pain in her voice. This is real pain. It's real suffering. It's real abuse. No one should be going through this. No one should be living through this nightmare. No one should. But yet, somehow, in this situation, you have what? A whole attempt to now say this story's a hoax, not only by the sitting president, but remember, under 4 years of Biden, there were plenty of opportunities for the Democrats to jump on this. How convenient now, because what? Orange boogeyman's in the White House? What I would say to the victims is this. Okay, first of all, I'll give credit where credit's due. Until I actually see further action, shout out to MTG. You know me. Representative Thomas Massey. And yes, I know. Hold on. I'll even tip my hat to row your boat, Rokana. But all right, if you're going to read these names, do it then. Don't be wasting our time. Do it. Don't be stupid here. Don't waste our times. Show us you're going to do this. 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 I don't want to be bombarded with people saying that this is all fake or that this is all a hoax, because it's not. Many years now, we saw a lot of content creators, influencers, reporters talk about the story. Some people who even did this from the very beginning no longer are living in the United States because, hey, when you take on the powers that be, you're in trouble here. Or either that, many people lost their YouTube channels, permanently demonetized, terminated. Or, on top of that, they did talk about it, but then all of a sudden they grew and grew and grew, got so cushy, got all that access, and now they want to shut up. They want you to stop talking about it. Things don't add up, and everything should be revealed. So what I would say to Thomas Massey, Rokana, and MTG, either you drop these files and show us, name the names, on the list. Do it for the victims. Let us know. No more hiding. No more ducking. Actions and deeds must take place. The time for talk and words is over. Actions and deeds must happen. Not only for us to know, but for the victims. And as I said before, and maybe this might frighten all of you, but people, let's be clear here. There is another Epstein. Epstein's out there. There's another Maxwell's out there. The only way for us to truly stop it is for us to keep on talking about this, because it's very real. Trafficking is real. And even looking at the border too, where children are disappearing, no child should suffer like this. No man, woman, or child should be trafficked. We look ourselves in the mirror and say that we're good people. Keep talking about the Epstein story. Share all videos. Share all posts. You keep on making this story alive because they're trying to bury it. Stand for it. Fight for it. Everyone must be involved. This isn't a left or right wing issue. It's a human issue. Fight.